Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Rackspace Solve New York. Here once again, your host, Ian Urquhart.
Please, you don't have to applaud so hard every time. I totally understand. Hey, welcome back. There's a couple things I want to share with you. One is you're going to get a feel for what Fanatical Support's all about, because it's all about our customers, our partners, our prospects. And we've learned that you don't screw with lunch either. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to have the Microsoft session now, and then right after that we'll actually break for lunch, and we'll just move the AWS session after lunch, and you'll get a full hour for lunch. So more to come on that. Now in the Microsoft session, Rackspace has had a long-standing relationship with Microsoft. We've provided hosted solutions on Microsoft, and we've really transformed and made the journey with Microsoft into the cloud. And so we now have offerings around Azure, the cloud platform, private clouds, et cetera, and Office 365. So we have a customer coming up here in just a minute, but first I actually want to introduce a person that will help us kind of walk through this discussion from Microsoft. And Legendary Pictures is actually going to be up here with Talal in just a few minutes, and we'll share with you how they're solving the challenge of Microsoft Office support with Fanatical support for Office 365. But to sort of set the stage, the right way to do it to give you some perspective, please join me in welcoming to the stage Talal Al-Qulawi from Microsoft.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Ian, for the warm introduction. Way to put me on pressure before lunch. So that's a great setup for everyone. So everyone, don't get pressured or anything. If you want to leave for lunch, I'll leave with you. That's a promise. Thank you, everyone, for being here. That's a great event. I'm very honored and privileged to be here with you today. Many of you are our customers with Rackspace, and we'll talk a little bit also more in details about the great relationship that we have with Rackspace and how we can both help you in fulfilling the cloud strategy with your organizations. To get started, my name is Talal Al-Qulawi. I'm a Senior Director with Microsoft Cloud and Hosting Service Providers Group. I've been with the company for a little bit over 15 years, and it's really great to be working with my colleagues and peers in Rackspace for the past 6 or 7 years since I joined that group. To get started, I want to set the stage with a couple of things. When we talk about the cloud, it's very easy to slide immediately into a technical conversations and go into features and functionalities and all of that. And don't get me wrong, I'm an engineer by profession and education and heart. I spent the first 7 or 8 years in Microsoft as part of the Microsoft Consulting Services Group. And I always talk to customers at the time about technology and how the technology can help you in the data center. What's interesting in the cloud is that it really transformed the way, if you are a seller of technology, and how you talk to your customers. If you are in the technology business, if you are a CIO or someone who works in IT, it also transformed the way that you talk to your customers internally within the company on how you consume technology, how you fulfill the business demands, how you solve business requirements. That's really a fact. You've seen many researches before where the spending from the non-IT departments is outpacing the spending from IT departments on IT or on technology, like the marketing departments going and buying business solutions or CRM solutions. All of these things were really triggered in many ways by the evolution of the cloud, or how easy it is to transact and implement and use. So instead of going into features and functionalities, what I intend to do is that walk you through a little bit of the thinking on how in Microsoft and how we work with our partners and with our customers on what we call the value chain and that concept of value. And it's actually a very simple concept. If you think about it, any transaction that you do, any change of material will involve at some point the question of why. If you buy anything, if you do anything for anybody, there is the question of why. When it comes to the cloud, what you as a CIO or as a business decision maker even encourage you to do when you look at the technology is to think about this value chain or the value creation when you're building a strategy or a plan around 3 pillars. What is the value of cloud to your business organization? What business problems does it solve? How can you grow the business? How can you sell more of a product? How can you connect your business to your customers? How can you gather and break down the tons of data and analytics that come in? All of these are in the bucket of the business value. So when you're building your cloud strategy internally, it's very important to begin with that. On what business problem are you trying to solve? Not only a technology conversation. So that is one pillar that we will talk about today, and how a cloud-enabled digital strategy with Microsoft technologies and with Fanatical Support and the managed services from Rackspace can help you achieve that. The second pillar, which is equally important, is the technology. On what value does the technology bring to you, and how you can use technology and innovation to create further value. Classic example here is security. Compliance. How can the technology enable you to increase security, to lock down data, to maintain customer privacy, to connect more with the analytics and the data that is there? So all of these are technology features and analytics. How can you increase productivity of your users? All of these are in the technology pillar. So that is another pillar of the value creation chain. The third one, which we focus a lot on, and as you're familiar, we have over 1 billion users who use the Microsoft products and technologies today, is the user experience. And that user experience is critical, especially with the evolution of the devices and the mobile devices. So one of the center elements of that user experience is, how is that user experience consistent regardless of what device or platform or operating system that they're using? And that is one of the great things that Satya, our new CEO, embodied in the company since he took over, and opening up Microsoft to be a more of an open services platform that really increases the productivity, and regardless of what device that you're accessing it. So you see the vision that he crafted for all of us in the company, and we're all happy and excited about this. There is a tremendous excitement inside Microsoft for adopting this. And there is a data that you will see right now on how Office Mobile, for example, is one of the top downloads on both iOS and on Android. That's a classic example of how Microsoft is opening up its cloud to be accessed and enhancing and making that user experience simpler for users to adopt and use our technology. We talked about the value creation. We talked about how this is important for the business, for the technology, and for the user experience. When we look back at the business value, one of the things that you can use when you work with the Microsoft Cloud Platform is connect with the customers. And this is very important. So if you are in a business, you sure have some internal customers of yours who are your users, as well as external customers who you're either doing a service or you're transacting product with. One of the things that you should be thinking about in this strategy, or the cloud strategy, is how do you connect and communicate with your customers? How do you aggregate the feedback? What is your website like? What is the analytics and data that you gather with this communication? What does this data and listening mechanisms tell you? And then you take this back to the business and translate it into a product strategy or a communication strategy, or also a way to improve your relationship and customer satisfaction, or how they perceive your product. All of these are really super critical. In a product like CRM Online, for example, those social listening skills that can be aggregated and be presented in a really meaningful way to your internal audiences that can translate into an outbound customer connection strategy. The second bucket is growing the business, and this is very important. What is your strategy with the cloud or with the product or the technology that you're acquiring that will enable your businesses to grow in volume, in transactions, in profit, in margin? And there are many aspects of Office 365 or in Azure that enable you to do that. A classic example that I would like to use here was one of the things that I did a few years actually with Rackspace was around SharePoint. Many people, when they think about SharePoint, they start thinking about a portal or with these many features. So it's a Swiss Army knife of all the features that enable you to do a portal, to do a website. But look at it from the business side. If you are, for example, a lawyer office, one of the classic problems that any law offices have is how to manage their documents. They receive with the thousands and thousands of paper documents from their clients. They file thousands of documents with the courts, with the different agencies of the government, all of these things. So when these organizations think about it and go and search for a solution or reach out to buy a solution, they will not go and look for, I need a SharePoint solution. What they go and look for is that I need a solution to manage the thousands and thousands of documents that I have, to connect with my clients, or to protect it, or to secure it. And this is where someone like Rackspace can come in and say, no, here is how we can help you solve that business problem using technology like SharePoint, and help you solve a business problem and help you grow the business. So this is really critical in planning for how to use the technology in the cloud. The third element is driving productivity. And as you see in our vision, Office is at the center of that, and Office 365 is at the center of that. We'll talk more about this, but there was some data point that over 70% of the population, of the workforce, the first thing that they do before using the facilities or drinking their coffee or just getting off bed is actually what? Guess what? Like a lot of you do it. Yes, exactly. They check their email before just getting off the bed. So that is one form of productivity, which is email. And you will see me talk about a lot more about productivity when we cover Office 365. Many of us, when we think about productivity internally within an organization, we immediately think of one product, which is email. But in Microsoft now, we use Office 365, and many millions of customers now use Office 365 with us. It is not about email anymore. Email is at the center of it, but it is not only about email anymore. And we will talk more about that in the next few slides. So I'll cover technology now. We talked about the business as one of the value pillars. Let's cover the technology aspect on how the Microsoft Cloud Platform can help you on the technology aspect or on the technology pillar. With product like Azure, who has over 70 technology services that are there, when you think about it and what value such cloud or such technology can offer you, I immediately think about how you can transform your data center. So you start by going and listing what are the workloads that are there, and I'll provide a couple of examples there. What are the workloads that you don't need to maintain in your data center, or you can expand or complement from the Microsoft Cloud with Azure? The classic example there was, for example, virtual machines. So in the past, many of you used to know how to order a server, and I was in organizations that used to order a server. And ordering a server used to take weeks and months with POs going back and forth and negotiating prices, and then they come in and they need to be racked and wired and installed and set up and configured and all of that. It used to be a process that takes weeks and months. The same analogy applies to how you modernize your data center with the Microsoft Cloud today. When many of those services, you look at and say, all right, is the timing the issue, the time to production? Is it the cost? Is it the experience? Is it the skill? And then map it to what service in the cloud from Rackspace or from Microsoft that can help you achieve this faster or better or in a more secured way. It's, again, a question of value and how you can list these services and technology features that help you in the value of the cloud in your IT department. So this is one of the elements there. The second one is unlocking the insights to data. And two services here that come to mind that you will see in the next few slides as well. The first one is SQL on Azure, which is one of the most popular services on Windows Azure today. We have millions and millions of hosted SQL databases on Azure, and we have also Rackspace being one of the largest hosters in the world of SQL that are there today. Tremendous capabilities in data warehousing, connecting with your internal data. The second service that complements this, that achieves the unlocking the insights, and I use the keyword, I emphasize on the keyword of insights, is the Power BI. So Power BI is one of the services that are available in Office 365, and it works really nicely with Azure or many of the other back-end services or data warehouses. And what it is, it's basically allows you to visualize analytics and data mining and enable you as a business decision maker to make decisions or look at trends, analyze trends, and make decisions based on that in a really easy to use way. And you don't need to be the technical expert to even author custom reports and go to market with it. I wish I had a demo for you on this, but please reach out to our colleagues outside and ask them on how they can demo Power BI and SQL Azure for you and how you can unlock or use the Microsoft Cloud Platform to unlock that great tool for you. The last one that I will speak to on this slide is the enterprise mobility. Of course, there are billions of devices that are out there, and I'm sure security and the management of these devices at the top of mind for you if you are a CIO or CTO, but also if you are in the legal department or if you are the head of the company, you worry about privacy and management of these scenarios a lot. So this is with EMS, with a product like EMS, and the diversity of the different platforms that you can use with EMS is how you can manage the two different personas of Talal, the individual who has his account with Hotmail or with Outlook.com, or Talal, the professional who works in Microsoft on the same device, and diverse and keep a Chinese wall between those two personas. So if my device is lost, I can easily manage the data that is there, and it is encrypted, secured, and I can control it or wipe it when I lose it. And you as an organization have no fear or liability when this data leaves the boundaries of the corporation. I just want to share quickly a couple of the insights that we, and the success and the momentum that we have with Windows Azure and with Office 365. I'm not going to read the slide for you. You have it there, but obviously, as you have seen from the latest earnings from Microsoft, we're really happy with the momentum that we have in the cloud with Azure and with Office 365. And thanks to you, the customers, and to great partners like Rackspace who enable us to make that happen. One of the flagships that you see here is, for example, OneDrive and the phenomenal success that we have across both consumers and across the commercial platform. And it's really great to use. And if you haven't used it yet, please go ahead and try to sign up for a test account with Rackspace or with Microsoft through Rackspace to show you how streamlined that experience and how connected those three pillars of value together, how the business helps the technology, helps with the user experience. So you can go in your Office document, save your documents directly into your OneDrive. There is nothing else to use. It looks like a natural drive in your Windows when you open it. If you completely used your device, and it actually happened to me a couple of months back, just before Christmas, my laptop completely crashed, and I got a new laptop. I really immediately started working back from like the minute it started up because everything was saved on OneDrive. So it was very natural and very easy for me to consume. With Windows Azure, we have over 70 services of Windows Azure that are out there. And Rackspace was actually the first partner that we announced in WPC in July that can help you, the customer, consume, deploy, and understand how Windows Azure works and what services of Windows Azure that should fit better with you. One of the services I will specifically talk about, and you should talk to the Rackspace folks outside and how to use it, is the Azure Active Directory, and how it can help you manage the identity of your organization, and even with the extended members of your organization, whether they are affiliates or partners of yours or vendors of yours, and how you can use Windows Azure Active Directory to help you manage the identity across different devices and different services, regardless of whether it's a Microsoft service or not. This is one of the advantages of being in the cloud and us supporting many of the open standards that are out there for authentication or identity management. So it's a great way to look at some of the value services in Windows Azure. We talked a little bit about Office 365. It happens also, I am biased because this is the product I manage in Microsoft. When we talk about Office 365, people think immediately email, which is great. Exchange Online is one of the best email products that are out there in the market. And you've seen that we have over 60 million commercial customers on Exchange Online and Office 365. But it's not the only service that are out there. We talked about productivity. There is Skype for Business, which is tightly integrated with Exchange and Outlook. So you can schedule a conference call. You can use it as a PSTN. You can use it as a web conferencing system. So all of it for IM, internal and external, connects nicely with Skype for the consumer, with hundreds of millions of users on Skype. All of these things. So to me, Skype is one of the essential services on Office 365 that you should be thinking about. The second one is SharePoint and OneDrive, and you can't really separate the two. They are an integral part of each other. We talked a little bit about OneDrive. We talked a little bit about SharePoint. And then I want to remind you, Rackspace is actually one of the largest hosters of SharePoint outside Microsoft as well. So it's a great asset for you to talk to people like Jeff DeVerter, who I knew for several years, who's outside from Rackspace, on how you can use SharePoint Online with Office 365 to solve some of the business problems, and they create the value that we talked about in the previous slides. What you see here is many of the other services that are not very popular in the sense of the branding, but these are the things that they do, and we have just introduced 12 to 18 months ago, and that's why I kept it on the slide. Things like Office Sway, which is a really nice way to graphically design and build a great story for you and tell the story instead of just a PowerPoint presentation. So really creative way to share your thoughts and ideas and pitch a business or pitch a story commercially or on your website, and many others as well. We covered Power BI. Last thing before I invite our guests on stage, we talked about how people perceive email as being the productivity. But I want to remind people with everybody, this picture on the left, this is what email looked like 20, 30 years ago. It really did. If you think about it now and you think, okay, how do you create value out of email and how Microsoft thinks about email? Email is just a text. And if you're just planning to use email as the value, then you just as well send it via your phone or WhatsApp or any other instant messaging. The way we look at email in Microsoft is that it is not just a text. So email is not just email with us. And when you go to Office 365, one of the simple things that you'll see is that this is what the Office 365 dashboard looks like. This is what we're saying is that email is just the central component, but there is a lot more to email than just email. For example, how many of you knew in Outlook or in Office 365, I can send you an email, and then when you receive it, I can block you from forwarding that email to anyone else. You cannot print it, you cannot forward it, it's encrypted, and I can set up the rules that I want on that email. So that then is not just text, it's not just email. Think about how important that is in the environment that we live in today, where privacy, confidentiality, liability is at the top of the pyramid for the concerns in the cloud, correct? If you are in the financial industry, if you are in the health industry, the government, all of these little things are key to how you transform productivity with the cloud and with tools like Office 365. I really hope that you can take advantage of this. Take a look at Office 365. There are 2 booths outside with Microsoft and the Rackspace folks that can help you and answer more of your questions about Azure and Office 365. And we're just working also with Rackspace. Some of you were there yesterday with us on the Customer Immersion Center, where you can actually live through it and see how the cloud can transform your business value, your technology value, and the way that you connect with your customers. I am very proud of the relationship and the partnership that we have with Rackspace. They have won the Hosting Partner of the Year 5 times, more than any other hoster on the planet. And like I've said, they have many of the great talent that I personally rely on and call for their depth and engagement and experience with many of the customers like you and the value that they provide to us and to you. So for that, I say thank you for Rackspace for hosting us today and for the great partnership. So please join me in thanking them for that great partnership. With that, I would like to invite Ryan from Legendary and Jason from Rackspace to stage to spend a few minutes with us and share their experiences. So Ryan and Jason, please join me on stage. Ryan, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Jason, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Excellent.
So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. So Ryan, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who Legendary is?
So I'm Ryan Stevens. I'm the System Security Administrator of Legendary. Legendary specializes in releasing content in film, television, digital, and comics. We are releasing content to a global audience around the world. Legendary has released films such as the Dark Knight trilogy, 300, soon to release the Warcraft movie. I work with Legendary. I am the system administrator, so I'm managing the infrastructure, working with recent projects such as migrating to Office 365 from Rackspace's hosted environment.
So do you actually get to see the movies before they're released, Ryan, or no?
Very occasionally, so it's very fun. I get to go to the movies, I get to hear what's going on, but it's very, it's a niche market.
So I'm a huge movie fan. I'm adding you to my LinkedIn right after this, and we'll see how this will work. Jason, can you please introduce yourself and what you do with Rackspace?
Hi, I'm Jason Himmelstein. I'm the Office 365 Advisory Services Manager for Rackspace, and I'm sitting between you and lunch. So if you want to hear more about me, come to my session. I'm doing a session later on this afternoon in a breakout, so I'll talk more about myself then. So
thank you. So Jason, I realize that you have just acquired Office 365 with Rackspace. So can you tell us a little bit about the experience and why you made that decision and what value it created for you?
So the reason we had to move to Office 365 was the different tools that it did offer as far as the tools for collaboration, productivity apps, and Skype for Business and everything. So we really needed something that we needed to leverage for the business to offer tools for our users. Of course, license consolidation was a big factor into moving to Office 365. Our users were using multiple devices, so having offices on all of these devices was a big thing. Office Online was a big tool that all of our users are using right now. So, and then advisory services team from Rackspace was a huge seller for us. We needed support from Rackspace as far as trying to help us guide us to making decisions and making it work for our business.
Thank you. Jason, can you walk us through what you have done with Legendary and what you normally do on your day-to-day and how you help customers like our audience today realize the value out of the Microsoft Cloud?
absolutely. So with Legendary specifically, they were coming out of our hosted Exchange environment, and we're looking at how do I maximize all of the Office 365 tools. So we spent some time at the very beginning figuring out what is the complexity behind the migration. Because we had different versions of Office. We had different clients. We had some that were running on other platforms. We had some that were running inside of virtualization on other platforms. How do we handle all of those and making sure, most importantly, that the end user experience is consistent and simple across the board? So with them coming specifically for one thing, it was how do we handle the one thing, but then also expand into the rest of the platform? And that's where the advisory services that we did really helped Legendary from the conversations that we've had.
This is great. I know we're running over time, so I'll save us the time and so we can join the audience on lunch. I really appreciate you being here, Ryan and Jason, so thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Perfect.
So at the end, I would like to thank everyone for being here today and for hosting me. I really appreciate it. And thanks to the great Rackspace team for having us today. So thanks, everyone.